afternoon and welcome to Diaspora Network Television News Update. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. From its Galveston, Texas origin in 1865 of June 19th, as the African American Emancipation Day has spread across the United States and beyond. Currently, Juneteenth commemorates African American freedom and emphasizes education and achievements. It is a day, a week, and in some places a month marked with celebration, guest speakers, picnic, and family gathering. In Ghana, it was marked with series of activities, and Diaspora Network Television caught up and interacted with some African Americans at Imofra Place in Accra, where the day's activities were held. In an interview with Jessica, the president of the African American Association of Ghana, this was her remarks.
How important is this particular occasion to you as an individual and to the African American community as a whole?
I would say that, let's start with me personally. Juneteenth is something that I learned about when I lived in the state of Texas. I was not born in Texas, but I lived in Texas as a young adult. And what you see happening here, the music, the food, the fun that people are having, this is the experience that I had when I lived in Texas. It was a holiday I learned about in Texas. And so I think for us, culturally, it's something that we need to hold on to the culture that we have brought with us from the United States. Juneteenth itself has a very interesting history. It's a holiday that celebrates the freedom of slaves in Texas. Slaves in Texas were freed 2 years after slavery was made illegal in the United States. Because they were so far from where the Civil War was being fought, the people who had slaves refused to let them know that they were free. So it was only, they worked for 2 years as slaves, 2 years longer than they needed to because the information was withheld from them. So it's a celebration of their freedom, their belated freedom. But also now, because of the Black Lives Matter movement, it has become a celebration of freedom in general, freedom of all people of color. And, you know, there's a renewed interest because of last year, what happened with George Floyd, and just in general, the realization that of the problems that we have as African Americans in the United States. So it's very important for us to understand our history and to celebrate it. And because now, just a few days ago, the United States signed into law, Biden signed into law, the Juneteenth is now a public holiday in the United States. It's the first holiday that exists to celebrate the abolition of slavery. Nobody has ever celebrated the abolition of slavery in the history of the United States. So it's very important that we not take that for granted.
Nanaya, also known as Naya, made a submission on how important the occasion is to her as an individual and to all African Americans.
To me, it's important because it depicts another fraction of how messed up things were in America. It is a day because even years after the Africans were freed in America, there were fractions of us who never got that news. And that's why it's called Juneteenth, because somewhere around June 14th through the 19th or something, the enslaved Africans were told that they were no longer slaves. But the people, the government, nobody mentioned it to them. So it's a day that we celebrate of learning of our freedom that had been years before. And the African American Association is an association here in Ghana whereby people from all over the diaspora can come and find their way. They can navigate their way through Ghana. We have people who have been here for 60 years. And everything that you need to know, from where to live, how to buy things, where to eat, where to go to worship, you can find through the African American Association of Ghana.
Maurice Ni Ayite Chidom also made some few submissions on the relevance of Juneteenth and the lessons learned so far.
Juneteenth means total freedom. So what you have to understand, if you know the history, although Abraham Lincoln emancipated the slaves, it didn't reach till 2 years later until Texas when they told them they were free. So were we really free? if all of us weren't free. So that meant a total understanding of who we are, and we're finally free to build our legacy and our foundation in America.